Philippi Herndon, welcome to Writers in Relationship.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so grateful that you said yes. And actually, it's funny, we were just talking about this. Several of the writers that I work with at Hodgepodge use write under pen names. And I'm just super curious, like how you found yours and what that process, if it's not too early to jump into that.
No, it's fine. It's actually a couple of surnames in my family lineage. So
Oh,
that's where that came from.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Um, so the first thing I always like to say, this is a joint podcast between my personal podcast, Writers in Relationship, and the Hodgepodge Literature and Art podcast. And I always like to I'm fascinated with little origin stories. We don't know each other, but how did you first get to know Hodgepodge and what made you sort of want to jump in and be part of it?
Well, I met Mary Lynn, one of your editors, through a writing class that I've been taking for the last couple of years, um, with a guy named Jack Grapes. And and she's amazing. She's such an incredible writer. I guess I was in class with her. I don't know, probably it's been like a year and a half ago. And I was like, who is this woman? She's so good. And just sh her voice is so unique, but it was so resonant too, like her stories. I was like, she could be writing about me. She writes these stories about like a girl in New York in the 90s. I'm like, gosh, this could be me. And I loved her. And I read something one day in class and she was, I think you'd be a great addition. Do you mind if I send your piece in? And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying. Okay, sure. Great, do it. And so that's how I got introduced. And so then she sent me the link and I read a bunch of, pieces that people had written. And I just think the combination of art and literature is something that I love and it would just seem like a great fit. And I was so honored and flattered that I got chosen to be a part of this one, this latest edition.
It's funny because your story has art in it. So that was just that tickled my funny bone when I was like, I
Yeah.
wonder if that's like a little wink. I don't know if it
It
just
just was kind of perfect. I mean, it wasn't really like what I set out to do, but it just kind of, I was like, oh, this is funny. This kind of dovetailed nicely.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
cool. So tell us where you are and a little bit about your setting is another thing that I've been thinking a lot about as a writer and um your relationship with your setting and if it filters kind of comes into your work at all.
Yeah, well, I grew up in the South. So I feel like that's just a part of me that's sort of in my bones. So I think that that does kind of come in my writing somewhat, but I've lived in Los Angeles for a really long time. I came here for college, so it's been over 30 years. Um, and I really love it here. I could never leave. I think about it every now and then I just circle back and I can't. I love it. Um, there's just something that's super freeing living here. It's very different than the South, where I feel like there's a lot of expectation and I don't know, societal pressure to be a certain kind of a person. And I really love living. I live in Venice, which is kind of the funkiest artist community of, well, one of a couple in Los Angeles. And I don't know, it's just like a bunch of weirdos and it's perfect. I love it. I love living here.
And have you ever written, has Los Angeles been part of any of your stories or any of your writing in any way?
I write a lot about the ocean, because I live pretty close to it, and it's something that it's funny, like I haven't been writing for that long, but I grew up loving the ocean when I was a kid. We went to Florida all the time, and I loved being in the water. And then I moved to California and I was like, I don't understand the water here. It's so dark. The sand is such a different, the sand in Florida is like white. Here it's kind of dirty. The water seemed dirty. It was cold. I was like, I don't understand this at all. And I did not go into the ocean. I literally would not set foot in the ocean for 20 plus years. I was like so stupid. And I live so close. And so then I don't know, like a friend of mine invited me to go to the beach with him one day. And it just kind of like kind of changed my life. He was going through a big shift in his life, and I was at the same time too. And so we just start riding our bikes to the ocean every morning. And and it was just sort of like therapy and just being out of our comfort zone in like multiple ways, but it also was kind of like um being a child again. It was like riding my bike and playing in the water. And I just got over whatever that dumb fear of like the cold and the dark, and it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And we would go like really early in the morning too, and it was just the light was incredible, and sometimes there's dolphins and um just complete magic. And I think that does come into my writing sometimes.
Do
So,
you have any particular stories that it's present in?
um I think I think I published one. So in the Jack Grapes class, he publishes a book at the end of every session called Method Writers, and I think I published one about I think I published one just kind of standing at the ocean and just it was kind of the backdrop for a conversation or some thoughts that I was having at the time.
If you have a link to that,
Yeah,
I would love to read that.
yeah. Let me look. Let me
Yeah,
look.
that would be
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm enamored by the ocean. I've never actually lived near it, but I just find it powerful and slightly scary, but romantic and exciting and soothing and like everything kind of.
It is. It's all those things. And there's definitely been days, early on when I didn't totally know how to work with some of the waves. I would go out too far and be like, I don't know how to get back in, or it's just the ocean is super powerful and you have to kind of know how to work with it. And I do remember one time being in like being scared. Like I don't know how I'm getting tired. I don't know how to get back in. It wasn't like I was in a riptide, but the waves just kept coming and I was just in the wrong place, and my friend was like, just stop fighting it and just like let it bring you in. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. And also such a metaphor for life. I was like, right, what am I doing? I'm just fighting against this thing. I need to just surrender and it was fine. But yeah, it can be scary for sure.
I love that though, that metaphor and that our relationship with things that are inanimate, I think those can be teachings for our relationships in human life too.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I feel like that's definitely the journey that I'm kind of currently on. Just okay. Just keep going. Just one step in front of the other and see what happens and just like stop trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. Yeah, to not fight things. It's really hard to do. I
It's
find it
really hard to do.
difficult. Tell us a little bit about you were mentioning that you haven't been writing for that long, and I'm just curious about your relationship with writing, when it started, and kind of what the place that it has in your life, and maybe what you're focused on. That's a lot of questions in one, but however you want to take that.
Well, I I went to like a prep school, so I learned how to write academically, from a pretty early age, but I never wrote creatively. um, until about 2 years ago. A friend of mine recommended this class, and she recommended it years ago, and I was like, great, no, not ready. It just was one of those things, but it was kind of in my head, and then she said it again and again and again, and finally I was like, okay, I'm ready to take this class. Who knows why those things happen in the way they do, but and she had only taken the class one time, and it was such a funny thing. So I signed up and the class, his particular way of teaching is really just like about finding your own voice and just writing. One of the things he says is like write like you talk, and it really just kind of cracked me open in a way that was horrifying and also exactly what I needed. And he's just like a lovely person, and the whole class is really supportive. And so once I started, I haven't been able to stop taking his class, and I've learned so much, and it's been an incredible thing for me personally, and also finding this kind of passion for writing has been amazing. And I do think there was probably some part of me that always knew maybe somewhere buried deep down I was a writer, but I just was so afraid to go there. I don't know what that was about, but you know, it was just something that I was constantly kind of shying away from. And I think maybe because I just wasn't ready to expose myself, and I feel like the way that I have sort of learned to write, but it feels right for me is just being really vulnerable. And that was something that I really couldn't do before now, I guess. It's just sort of like everything happens in the right time, I guess. But he was the right person to kind of unlock this for me. And it's been about 2 years, and I love it. I don't know. We'll just see kind of where it goes. I have other jobs. It's not like, how I'm making a living, but it's something I've really loved doing, and it's just fun to see it kind of continue to evolve. So we'll see.
The vulnerability thing is feels like a big part of what we do and what can get in our way when we don't do it. Um, and you were saying it was sort of horrifying when you got cracked open, and I'm curious about that. If I don't know if you want to share just a little bit about how that maybe affected your relationship with yourself or how you were in the world. I'm sensing there's something about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up in the South, and a very stereotypical kind of Southern upbringing is, you sit over there, you look pretty, you don't say anything. It just wasn't part of my life to have emotions and to really even check, like, know that part of myself. So I just think I kind of moved through the world with, a lot of people would say, "Oh, she's so strong." Like, I could just kind of like barrel through anything. Um, but there were certain walls up that I had, that were, I'm sure served a purpose for many periods of my life. And then it just was like, okay, that has served, that's played out now. It's time to do things differently. Um, yeah, so Jack has a really kind of amazing way of kind of getting people to get deeper with certain exercises. And I tell this story all the time to people who kind of know his class, but I was like, I'm not doing it. Like I did a story, and he was like, "Great, where's the part where you like went deeper?" And I was like, "I just didn't do it." And he was like, "Well, you're gonna do it right now. You're gonna do it right now. Just turn your camera off, write the thing, and then come back and read it." And I was like, "This is my worst nightmare." Because you're sharing it in front of, I don't know, 20 people. I was like, "This is terrible." And I did it, and and people were so kind. They were like, "Your story was great, but like this made it so much better. Just 2 lines or whatever, 3 lines, like and once I just kind of started that, I was like, I get it, I get it. It's how you connect to people. If you're just kind of going through life with these walls up and you're like, everything's fine, or trying to make things funny, or whatever we do to kind of mask our own internal world. I mean, it's hard to connect with people if you're not really letting them in. And so I think that was for me, it was like, okay, that's a little bit of a gateway to just a deeper connection to myself, to understanding myself, digging. Like I did that, and then it was just like, oh my God, there's like so many layers down. Like, does this ever stop? I'm like digging, digging, digging deeper, deeper, deeper. And it was hard, but also beautiful. And I think that has, certainly only served me in my life for the better.
And it's interesting that your teacher was the one who sort of led you there. Like
Yeah.
I feel like my friends and my very, very, very close friends and lovers are the ones who have taught me. Like I think if I had been in your shoes, like if somebody forces me in that way, I can't. But if somebody's sort of like gently drawing me out, like Like, I think you're brave that you just did it. Like, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just put my fists up and, but like, I don't know. I mean, I can't, if it's a very gentle environment, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think I pr would have loved to have had a lover who would have done that, who would have like wanted to know me that deeply and would be that patient with me. I think I just never had those relationships, honestly. Like that sounds better. Or I don't know, who knows?
Whatever. But there's teachers. I mean,
I
the
just
exciting
like
thing.
that
Like,
hadn't happened, so somebody had to be like, let me just crack this. And I've seen him do it to other people, and and I could, it's cool now to be on the kind of other side of it and be able to watch these people who are just out of the gates, and the resistance is palpable, and then it's just like you just have to make that first little crack, and then it all just starts to kind of all the walls that we all kind of are walking around with just start to kind of crumble.
yeah. And
But
what you said was
yeah,
so,
you have to be in the right environment, of
yeah,
course.
right.
And everything in that class is so supportive. I have not ever heard anybody say anything that's not 100% like, you know, we got you, you're in a safe space and you could say whatever you want and nobody is like you could say the darkest, most shameful thing that you've been carrying around forever, and you're like, I'm gonna say it, and people are like, great, me too,
Yeah.
whatever, or
Yeah.
whatever, like we're all doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, we're all human. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
permission to be fully human, I
yeah,
guess, right?
yeah.
No, and it's
Totally.
always the how. Like he was pushing you, but he probably pushed you in a very loving, encouraging way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Super sweet.
yeah.
Super, super sweet. That
It's a lot.
actually reminds me, I'm going to skip ahead in my little question list, but I'm thinking about as an editor, like that's also about the how. And when we're in there, we're tinkering and it can feel I've been on both sides of that. And I wonder for you, what makes a good editor? What is somebody who really helps you do your best work? And what does that look like?
Well, I have to be honest, I've only ever had the one experience with Hodgepodge. So that was a first for me. And I had Heather, who was amazing. She was so great. I mean, I feel like hopefully it's always like this, but I don't know. But she was, I sent in my piece and I wasn't completely happy with it. I knew the ending was a little rough and I just had to get out of my head and send some, I was like, I can't overthink this and worry that this isn't perfect. And I just was like, I just need to send it in. It's good enough, and I know it's going to be worked on, so it's okay. So I sent it in, and as soon as I sent it in, of course, like the next day, I was like, oh, this is how I want this thing to wrap up, or here's the better way to kind of go with it. And so then she sent, she read it, and she was again so loving and so supportive. She was like, this is great. I think maybe the ending could use a little work. And I was like, of course, great. And she had some simple suggestions, but it was kind of perfect because I had kind of already been trying to tinker with it myself or just think about it. And then she just kind of kept leading me in a direction. And honestly, it wasn't like a huge I mean, I don't know. For me, it didn't seem like it was a massive amount of work that needed to happen, but she had just had so many perfect little suggestions to kind of get the story into the right place. Um, and she was totally lovely to work with. It was a great experience. And I felt a little bit bad because I'm a bit of a procrastinator, especially when I feel like, pressure for myself, so I was just like, oh, she sent the edits and then like I wait till the last day. I'm like, here at like 11th hour. I'm like, here we go. But she was great. It was a really, really positive experience. And it just is nice to have somebody to kind of help you see places, that you might not necessarily recognize need a little, like transition, she was like, this would be a great place to put a trans. It's just little things that were so helpful.
That's great. And
Yeah.
and it's something I think about is that there's the content part of the process, and then there's also the how, like how things are communicated. and actually Heather's helping me with my story. And I find the how part of the way Heather works so wonderful. Like I just feel like she's got me. Like she's like holding me in this little basket. Like that it just feels so nurturing but also rigorous. And I don't know if you found that with her, but
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously, I mean, she's very smart and her suggestions were just so spot on. It wasn't just like an amorphous, like, well, you maybe, it was like, this is, here's a little place, or here, maybe just try to tie this in back with this. It was like, it was so specific and like surgical that it was easy to kind of work with, which I thought, gosh, this is like a great kind of relationship.
that's wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the specificity thing is it's really key and it inspires, I think, trust. If somebody is able to explain something very specifically, then I understand it and I get that they're on my side. They're trying to get me to make the thing better so that like it's not just somebody sort of being top down and like doing a power trip or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely never got that from her, which no.
Furthest from the truth.
I
Yeah.
would imagine this whole community. I mean, just from the couple of times I've been on the Zoom meeting the editors and the contributing writers, it just feels like a really lovely community that you guys have kind of put together, and it seems so supportive across the board. So I can't imagine you'd have any editors that were just like,
Yeah. No,
you know,
but
this is terrible.
no,
Scratch this whole thing, start
but
over.
it's interesting because like we've also evolved in how we're practicing what we do and we did some professional development workshops and we talk about it a lot and one of the things that I've started thinking about and I've taught college writing and I have a lot of teaching and editing in my background and something that I've thought in the last 2 years has changed is the way that I talk about an edit. I talk about it from the point of view of a writer and what I'm receiving or what I'm thinking as opposed to talking about the problem itself.
Hmm.
So, and it's a small difference, but I think it gives the writer more information. So, for example, if I'm reading a transition that doesn't work, I'll say something like, uh, I I felt confused here, and my brain popped out of the story,
Hmm.
and it's just a little bit more accurate, and it also I feel like it's giving the writer the information that they need to figure out what to do about it instead of necessarily naming it, which it sounds like a tiny difference, but I've heard from people that it actually it's people say that it's better, like the writers say like, "Oh, I want to know how I'm impacting the reader." So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that that tracks for sure from my experience. And it is nice when somebody just points out one little thing. It gives you the agency to be like, all right, like how do I want to say this? Like how do I want to make sure that this is clear for you as the reader? And it's just, it just takes a little like suggestion like that. And
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that
and there's
that
some
is
trust
exact.
involved, right,
Yeah.
with the writer. What would this is something I'm always curious about a relationship that's very alive for you right now and how that impacts your writing.
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh gosh. I should have thought about this one. I think
No,
I
it's
saw.
okay. And it doesn't have to be to a person. Like it could be the ocean. Like it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the relationship that is important to me right now is the my friend who I go to the ocean with. Like that, there is something so beautiful. He and I met. Our kids were in kindergarten together, and he was married to a man, and they had a unexpected, you know, rift in their relationship, and I kind of met him when he was like, well, I know I'd known him for years, but he kind of came back into my life in a real way when that happened. And I had had a similar experience a couple of years before, so it was just like a little farther along the path from him. And so it just has been this most beautiful um, period of us both finding ourselves. And I think that we have done that through these bike rides and these shared experiences. And, you know, we'll go to the beach and, we'll be like wrestling with like, oh, this happened or that happened or whatever. And then we'll go get in the ocean and then we get out and we're like, gosh, everything's fine. Everything's great. And, and that relationship has been really, really important to me over these last couple of years. And he's now in another relationship, and that's been a beautiful thing for me to watch, like just kind of seeing how he's doing things differently, like patterns that he's broken, ways he's showing up that really honor his authenticity. It's just like I know that I've taught him a lot, but I've learned so much from him, and it's just like this beautiful give and take. And with the backdrop of the Pacific Ocean, I mean, it's kind of like there are just literally days where we stand down there and the light is so beautiful. Like in the early morning, it's just like this pale pink in the water. It looks like a film set. Like you can't even believe it sometimes how beautiful it is. Um and then literally like the dolphins will just come swooping, it's like this is stupid. Like how do we even live like this? Like this is just we are the luckiest people. And it's yeah, so that has really been a great addition to my life over the last few years.
That's wonderful. Wow. Maybe he'll show up in a story.
Yeah, I know. He hasn't shown up in the story, so we'll see. We'll see how he fits in there. I'm sure he will at some point.
Tell us a little bit about the heist. I've read it and I loved it. And just some there's it's a very cent relationship centered story. So yeah, just tell us a bit about it because that's the your story in 5.1, issue 5.1.
Yeah, I think well, I got the piece of art that was called Good and Evil. And I looked at it and looked at it, and again, it was like had the piece of art and waited until the last possible second to start writing. It's just like, what is actually wrong with me? But it just took a while for me to kind of figure out which way to go with it. And I think that we all have stories about who people are and what they are in our life and how they've wronged us or how we're right. And we can't see another way around that. And I just think that those stories that we tell ourselves are so often not the truth or they're nuanced. And so the setup is just sort of like, one person thinking this group of people are evil or just bad. There's no doubt about it, and I just kind of repeat this phrase, she's sure of it, or, I was sure of it, like he was sure of it, like, and that is kind of the place where you go in your head, like, I know this is a fact. This person is terrible. Um, and I just kind of wanted to break that open a little bit, and look at the ways that we're all like similar. We're all guilty of the things that we're pointing a finger at. And there's so much that we don't know about what's really going on with other people so I think that was kind of the impetus for the story. And um, I have an art history background, so it was fun to kind of delve into an art world and create those characters. Um, but yeah, I think the kind of crux of a lot of my writing is just like is just a kind of a deep dive into just like matters of the heart, and relationships. I think that's kind of the theme that kind of is always coming back, which is hilarious because that's so not who I was a few years ago. It's like not even, open to looking at that, but it's been a fun thing to explore and just acceptance of people and trying to kind of love people through whatever they're going through and not in a cheesy way, but just really looking at things from a bigger vantage point.
Yeah, that really came through
Oh, thank you.
in the story. Yeah, it's lovely, lovely. Yeah, I'm very, very happy that we get to publish it.
Thank you. I'm so flattered. I mean, it's just been the whole experience has been amazing I mean, the whole experience with you guys has been amazing. My own brain, that part was had to take a lot of walks to like calm myself down. I'm like, okay, you can do this. This is gonna be fine.
I mean, I don't know if this like makes you feel any better. I'm this weekend I was so frustrated. I'm still not done with mine and I was ready to pull it. I'm like, I can't. I don't have the skill. I can't pull this off, like every single time. So,
That sounds very relatable. So that makes me feel better because
yes,
I
good. I'm not saying it to make you feel better. It's actually like what's happening.
it's daunting. Like it's
So
scary to put yourself
hard.
out there. It's so ugh, yeah.
And it's also like I'm working on this. I'm really I'm not adept with plot and certain like narrative arcs. Like I'm just much better with sort of I'm really a pantser and like I'm very stream of consciousness and dialogue and scenes and vignette like structure's really really hard for me and this is really I'm trying to get this structure thing and it's like craft wise it just feels very demanding but that's a learning point too so anyway.
What's the name of your art piece?
um I actually don't even know.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so embarrassing to admit. It's
No.
a woman and her head is tilted. So there's a central, that's the central, she's in a choir. And anyway, well,
Interesting.
hopefully if I don't pull it, you'll get to read it. But
I would. I look forward to it.
if you had one piece of advice to impart to the people who listen are primarily writers, what would you tell them? What's some advice that maybe you wish somebody had given you?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I feel like I'm like the person who still needs advice, so I'm not sure that I'm like qualified to be giving advice, but I I do I think I read a book recently and it was a memoir and it just left me a little cold and I feel like it was because there just wasn't heart in it. It was a little like this happened, this happened, this happened, and it just didn't I didn't see the person really expose themselves in a way that would have really made me feel like I could connect with the writer. And so I think there's like an element of just like bleeding on the page that, if you do it in a way that is not over the top, but just enough to really like be vulnerable. Again, it's like that translates in such a huge way, I think. Um, you can really feel the difference when somebody's withholding that depth. So,
And that's really, that's such a, it's about our relationship with ourselves first, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So grateful, Philippi, to have you. I'm so excited to have your story in this issue. And oh, tell us, oh, one more. Tell us where we can read more of your work. If you do you have,
Well, I mean, the only things that have been published have been in the Method Writers books. And it is mortifying, I'll tell you, because the first session that I did was the first time they started to do the book. And so they were like, oh, just send in a couple of pieces. I mean, really the first pieces I'd ever written. And so I read them now, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like those things were published. I would have like had I known, I didn't know what I was sending them in for. I mean, it was just like, sure, I'll send anyway, I kind of die. But in a way, I think it's sort of funny and sweet. It's like I can kind of see the trajectory, like where I was 2 years ago to now. It's in print. That's not great. But so those are the only places that I have pieces published. And then they also have like a YouTube channel where I read a piece.
yeah, that was lovely, by the way.
Thank you.
You put that in your form and it was so nice to it's not a typical thing to be able to see a writer reading something, a short excerpt or something from there. It was lovely to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. That was a fun exercise. I was like um having to write things in a very condensed, amount of lines. Try to tell a whole story in like a few lines, which was a fun exercise for sure. But more to come, hopefully.
Yeah. Great. And if you have links to those Jack Grapes books, I would love to include those in the liner notes if you don't mind. Liner
Thank you.
notes.
Okay.
Is that even a thing for podcast?
I think that's right.
In the post part of the God, I gotta get my lingo straight.
It sounds right to me.
All right. Thank you so much. And
You're
it's
so
been
welcome.
an absolute joy to talk to you.
For me too. I appreciate it.